Music is a business. Music is an industry. As any normally ambitious person, you're wondering how to maximize your profits and performance doing what you like, music. Hi, my name is Scott McDonald. As a private consultant from an independent company, I urge you to watch this tutorial about Ohm Force's Predatohm. You're going to work 32% faster, experience a net 17% increase in sound quality with this wonderful tool. Moreover, your global hair factor is going to expand by 3%. Here is your customer. Super cool. Here is your guitar track. Awesome. Now between these two entities, there's a relation. Who can tell me what we need here?
We need a bigger arrow.
Oh dear, what a terrible accent. That's right, dude. We need a bigger arrow. Now you guys listen to this. Did you hear that? Sounds great, huh? High commercial potential. Those ohmies are really strong in the biz. Did you know that the Predatohm was voted the best effect by the readers of Future Music in 2002? Now you can share its profit-making power by making the most of this powerful tool. Awesome!
For this, we'll start with a very classic synth sound. Well, okay. We'll have played it via the best classic synth from this side of the galaxy, but you should be able to have something not too different with anything providing two oscillators and a filter. Just set both oscillators to triangle with the setting you can see here. Don't bother with mixing and give the filter a bit of everything. For the envelopes, we'll have the filter and the amplifier on the same page with a very short attack, little decay, and long release. Now, we are going to see how you can make the best use of the Predatohm distortion, not only by tweaking it, but by tweaking what comes in. First, let's insert Predatohm, here in its classic skin, just behind our synth. By default, it opens with one band only and a straight distortion. Note that this band covers the 4 frequency spectrum. Let's change that and have it only playing the bass. As you can see, a new band immediately appears. That's because in Predatohm, you define bands by their upper limit. So by having the band 1 upper frequency set to anything below the max, we have allowed room for a second band to exist. Let's ignore it for now and solo band 1. This is generally how we use Predatohm, dividing the incoming signal into several bands, transforming each of them, then hearing them all together and adjusting. Today, we're not going to distort the bass, just make it rounder and more consistent. This means having no or little distortion gain and compensating by having more volume for this band in the mix. Setting the character rather to fat instead of sharp, and setting the intensity according to taste. Attack of sound nearly always means intense action in the middle. That's where we have band 2, and that's why we prefer to sharpen it and avoid lots of signal to be caught in the distortion by keeping its intensity low. For those of you in the know, intensity works quite closely like the threshold of a compressor with an auto gain. So by keeping it low, we ensure that the loudest part of what comes in is affected. So in this case, we'll savagely distort that band, which will lower the effect of dynamic tweakings. Still, those settings matter, as they will interact with the synth volume, which we will play with later. By the way, let's talk about distortion. There are lots of different types in Predatohm. Some work like typical guitar overdrives, while others are less conventional. To make it simple, we'll take the same distortion for every band here. A puncher that can go far in terms of brutality. And we love brutality. To do this, we'll right-click on the distortion type knob to select the same thing for each band. The last band is made of the high frequencies that we have left. We plan to have the high end providing most of the texture, so we'll have a big intensity with a fat character to work on as much signal as possible. We'll use a lot of distortion to have a lot of grain and lower the band output to have it not too high in volume. Now, let's hear everything together. Okay, that is some healthy noise. Now is a good time to play with characters, intensity, amount and mixing of each band to see what we can do. We'll make a choice later while working with automations.
So, show me you got it. What's the best? More distortion or less distortion?
Je comprends pas ce qu'il raconte. Pourquoi est-ce qu'il a l'air aussi méchant?
Wrong answer! It's more! More, you bloody communist! People love distortion. They always want more!
Okay, what we have so far is a cool distorted synth. What we want now is to animate it via automation. The most basic way to do it will be to raise a filter, either in the synth or in an EQ or filter insert. But with the tools we have here, we can raise our expectations and try something different. One of the interesting things with any distortion is that while it is affected by the overall envelope of what comes in, it tends to make everything sound loud. So let's hear what happens if we tweak this synth output while playing it. Interesting, isn't it? On a simple distortion, what we would have done would not have been much different than to, say, just play with the gain. But Predatohm is a multi-band thing, so in this case, the result's different. That will be our first automation. We'll make a simple ramp up out of it with some variations in the last 4 bars. Okay, that was fast. Now let's play with the filter. In electronic music, it's pretty common to play with the cutoff or the emphasis. So, for violent sounds like this one, the emphasis, which is also called resonance on most filters, is a delicious option. Resonance is what makes any filter scream, and screaming in a distortion is like mozzarella with pepperoni, an efficient combo. So you hear? It can make quite an effect. Note that often it can be useful to make sure the harmonics we create here mix well with the tune of the track. To adjust this, you can play with the cutoff, although in that case, and considering the envelope of the VCF, it's probably better to rather tweak the filtering amount. Proceed carefully, as this will considerably affect the whole sound and its place in the mix. Okay, let's automate this. Damn, I couldn't even see how this was done. Anyway, let's conclude with the VCA decay times, often called release in other synths. Increasing it will make each note last longer, and this will be made more noticeable by the Predatohm distortion. Here, we'll simply have 2 floors for this parameter for each half of the sequence. Okay, one last trick and we're done. One of the things distortion does to a sound is to emphasize harmonics, and by definition that means higher frequencies. It's what makes the grain of a distortion, but it can also bring some sonority that you don't want. For instance, here, in this case, analog freaks may find the final sound too harsh for them. So let's please them. The quickest way to deal with that is to apply a low-pass filter after the distortion. We could certainly use the one Predatohm is providing, but let's instead add a Frohmage filter after Predatohm. Frohmage is a free low-pass filter with a twist. It lets you spur some bands higher than the cutoff, makes them resonate, and even plays them with a delay. Basically, you can try many things as long as you stay cool with the resonance, distortion, and tone parameters. You can use the setup menu to go to ownforce.com and grab some presets. There is actually a speakers simulator preset that is a good starting point for tweaking.
So guys, how do you feel? Yes, I know it's great to learn new things, improve yourself, and become more efficient. It's almost as good as kicking other people's children. And you know what? There's more. Next month, we're going to look at all the dark pleasures that Predatohm can provide to the bravest. A good pay for a job well done. This is not the figure we agreed in the contract.
Yes, but we're communists here.
Actually, we are Trotskyists. We don't like paying people. We rather share everything we have, inject chemicals into sportsmen, and send dogs to space. We don't like you, capitalist scumbag. Now go away with your filthy money!
I got his wallet.